DrFlux here, and today we are looking at a product sent from Frontline Foam. This right here is the second version of the Zinc. I believe it's called the Zinc 2.0. I did not pay for this blaster. It was sent to me for review, and I figured just to spice it up a little bit, we'd also take a look at the Mark II, because these two blasters have a very similar profile, and I figured, hey, let's see which one is the best sidearm. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So my plan in this video is to present both of these blasters with all my findings and see which one is a better fit for you. Now the Dartzone Mark II is, it's been out for quite a bit now. This is actually a reskin or a reshell, a recolor, and this is a Walmart exclusive version. You can also find this at Target on their website, and it's the red version. The Zinc is what we like to call a community blaster. This thing is designed and printed and assembled. So when you start looking at two blasters like this, one created by a company like Dartzone, the other made by hand by someone basically, when you start looking at it that way, the cost is gonna be in the favor of the Mark II, for sure. Not only is the price of this gonna be a lot cheaper, I believe this is around 80 or 90. These come in around 150, maybe 200, depending on what you're getting. This is also gonna come with a bunch of stuff. You get your mag, well, you get your internal mag loaders, you get a holster, and then you get some darts and the belt thing that holds the holsters. So this is definitely the value deal. When looking at this product in that regard, this is probably more of a specialty item. If you're really going for maybe more of a real steel type of look, maybe for like, if you got some private events or whatnot, I highly recommend not taking this guy into like a public area, but definitely for personal play on private property, I think this would be a really cool blaster. Even the Mark II can get a little bit iffy. It does come with a big old barrel extension that kind of makes it really look like a toy. But yeah, painting this up black and just using it in this profile, that could get you into some trouble. So keep in mind of that. So overall cost, I'm gonna have to give it to the Mark II. So let's move on to the next area, which is Ergo. Now I kind of touched base on these pistols looking kind of like real steel. And because of that, they have a very comfortable pistol grip. This in particular, I believe is way more comfortable than the Mark II. Mark II is a little bit boxy and not real great for a human hand. Whereas the Zinc definitely has a nice, good curvatures and just really feels great in the hand. Also for the priming mech, this one has a really kind of a more chunky priming mech than the Zinc, but in the end, I think they're about the same. They feel very similar, priming each one. I think this prime is a little bit easier though. So overall, Ergo, I'm gonna have to give it to the Zinc. I think this is a much more comfortable blaster for me personally. Our next area worth looking at is performance. Now both these blasters chronoed around 150, 160, but I will say this one was a little bit more consistent, and I think I actually got up to 170, and then a lot of 160s, a few 150. This blaster, the Mark II, was hitting around 150 a lot. I think it did dip down though to like 148 or something, but I will say this was a little bit hotter. Next thing is accuracy, and I'm gonna be honest, they seem very similar. As I was kind of plinking around with both of these blasters, I was gonna say the accuracy is very, very similar. So when it comes to accuracy, I'm gonna have to give these things a tie. All the testing I did with these blasters, I used the new bamboo dart. This is a little bit different than bamboo because it does have a waffle head. So that's what I was using for testing. I just wanted to use a consistent dart with both blasters. So the last area I want to talk about is functionality. Now, I am not a big fan of internal magazines with utilizing a speed loader. This blaster right here, basically what you do is you load up your speed loader, you put it on the blaster, and then you basically push the darts into the blaster. Close the breech, and then fire. So me personally, I prefer a magazine. On the Zinc, you have this really cool spring-loaded mag, so it just ejects that thing when you're done with it. You can just slap in a new one, and you're ready to go to town. So when it comes to functionality, I'm gonna have to give it to the Zinc because I'm a big fan of just using mags. Now, one downside of this design that many people will kind of bring up, and I hear a lot, is that this is a proprietary mag, so it's not your traditional Talon. At first, I was not really into this. I was kind of like, oh man, that's so unfortunate that it's not a Talon mag, but after getting it in my hands and kind of running it and using it with my loadout, I can tell you this thing actually makes it fit more into like my sidearm. And what I mean by that is I actually have these little pouches for, I believe this is for like, you know, for pistol mags. And these things fit perfectly in here. You just kind of slide those in and then boom, you got a couple. And then down here, I actually have my mag holder. So to me, this is kind of like, it just goes with the loadout. And I really appreciate that. To have quick, dependable sidearm that you can pull up, reload, you know, throw the mags back in there, you know, do what you need to do before cycling back to your primary. So my play style is I like to have like a good, you know, flywheeler, like a Griffin or a Hummingbird or something. And that means when it comes time for my secondary, I like to keep it as a non-electric blaster, like a Springer, a good compact, hard-hitting pistol is something that I would like to really use as a sidearm. And then if it's like an HVZ or that kind of thing, it's gonna be a hammer shot or some type of hammer prime blaster. So for private play, I think this Zinc right here is gonna be a permanent fixture in my loadout. So one last thing to touch base on is the overall build quality. Now, obviously the injection molded Mark II is gonna win in that department because you can't really beat injection molding, but this is an opportunity to take a look at the print quality of the Frontline Foam Zinc. So when it comes time to rank the actual build quality of this blaster, I'd say it's moderate. It's probably about a B. It's not like the best print quality I've ever seen. Some of the main things I look at in print quality is, you know, do you see under extrusion? That's when the plastic is not flowing properly and you'll see like kind of thin spots in the print. I don't see anything like that, which is really good. That's kind of the worst thing you can see in a print. Obviously artifacts, this does have a few artifacts, and what that is slight deviations and shifts in the print. A lot of them can be overlooked, but sometimes it gets so bad where you see ledges actually coming out of the blaster. I don't see anything too bad on here. When it comes to 3D printed Nerf blasters, some of the worst stuff is, you know, the magazines and the tolerances of how they fit. Obviously you hear that 3D printed part on 3D printed part. So if you have really bad print quality, this is where it's really gonna show. And I don't really have any tolerance issues with this blaster as far as the magazines. I've utilized them all. I thought I was gonna get kind of caught up on the mag springs, but I haven't had any feeding issues or anything as of yet. So overall, I think pretty solid. So final conclusion, which blaster do I recommend? Now this is where it gets a little tricky. If you are new to the hobby and you have limited funds and you just wanna get something really reliable, possibly something that you're gonna be dropping or playing with in all-day events and being really rough with, I'd recommend get the Mark II. This thing you could throw against a wall, you know, toss around and let your friends use it and stuff. It's gonna survive a lot. Also, the price point is low enough and you're really gonna learn a lot using this blaster. And so if you're that type of buyer, I recommend this. Now, if you have a specific design that you're looking for, maybe you're doing like a post-apocalyptic LARP, or you're doing something where you want something that looks like, you know, like a Glock or a 1911 or have that pistol form factor, and you also don't mind paying a little extra money, I'd recommend this. I think the Zinc 2.0 is just an amazing platform. I think of the Zinc as more of kind of a specialty purchase. This is someone who's in the hobby for a little bit and you want something special. I think this blaster is gonna really it's gonna treat you well. Now, if you're a casual nerfer, I probably wouldn't recommend this, especially if you don't have access to private fields. If you're just going to your local parks and playing and doing Nerf events there, I probably would stray away from this. This thing is something you don't really want to bring to, you know, certain public areas. Obviously, if you really have a burning desire to run this thing, make sure it's bright, you know, get some bright colors on it. I would have preferred this one to have the neon yellow at the tip, but that's fine. Or I might just end up painting the tip orange. But overall, I mean, if it's painted up bright like this, you should be fine. But from afar and in dark lighting, this thing could definitely look like a real firearm. So gotta be safe out there, you know, be responsible, recommend. That's why I'm usually an advocate for private games, especially nowadays. Most of my games I do now are private, which I know a lot of people don't have the luxury of having private games, but that's just, if you have that option, I highly recommend it. Well, I'm DrFlux. I want to thank Frontline Foam for sending me this amazing blaster. I hope to do more stuff with this in the future. As always, I want to thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And happy foam flinging.